Hi everyone, my name is Alex Beck, and welcome to session 1 of the Flexible Pathways Workshop Series, which is part of the Pipelines and Pathways program. The Pipelines and Pathways program, or P3 as we call it, is a career awareness and preparedness series designed to better prepare all students for success after high school. It includes understanding what jobs and career paths are available, and what skills you need to get there. Students who engage with the P3 program and go above and beyond to show they're ready for the workforce are eligible for a scholarship at the end of the year, so be sure to pay attention. Regardless of where you are in your education or career, you can always be working on these steps to your future success. And our first session today is really focused on the dream and plan parts of your journey. This really starting out and really looking where you'd like to start. And this workshop session is all about understanding what jobs exist, what makes a job a good job, and what you need to know about the job market and yourself before you even start looking or planning for what's next. So it's important to start by asking yourself, what is a good job? And here is my short list of what makes a job a good job. As you'll see, some of these things will be the same for everyone, and some of these are specific to you and your goals, passions, and needs. But first and foremost, and perhaps obviously, you need to know what jobs actually exist and are available in your area that you have an opportunity to find and prepare yourself for. And before you commit yourself to an idea of what you you might enjoy doing or what job you might pursue, the first step is understanding what jobs are out there. And you can look at hiring websites, you can look at Department of Labor information. We collect data locally here, and that can really help everyone learn what jobs are in specific regions. If there is a lot of one kind of job in an area, like being a nurse or an accountant, or an industry that has a lot of jobs in your area, like manufacturing, you can use that information to plan your future career. So I'm going to go over a few examples of how you can look at data and really kind of understand what kind of future job prospects there might be. And again, the data is boring, but it can be really important to know what's available today and what might be available when you are more ready to work. So the first example that we can look at is for CDL driver's license. And these are, this is a licensing career that really spans a variety of different jobs, but all of them require driving some sort of truck or vehicle. And so we can see right now there's the current demand for these careers is not great right at this moment. You know, especially if we're looking at everyone who's looking for work and you know, every graduating senior in high school or folks looking for work. But if you look at the 1-year demand and the 5-year demand, all of a sudden it paints a much more promising picture that if you start investing in becoming a CDL driver today, over time there will be more and more opportunities for you to enter that career field and to find one of those jobs. The next little batch of data is around clerical and administrative jobs, and this tells a very similar story. So we know that there are 75 employers that we surveyed in our region that right now have around 8 job vacancies. Again, 8 isn't a huge number when you think about everyone looking for work at once. But if you look at, you know, over time, again, by 2021 and 2024, there's a huge amount of need for these kinds of skill sets and for these kinds of jobs. So if you're interested in being an accountant or a bookkeeper or learning more about clerical work or administrative support work, you can start investing in those skill sets today. And by the time you're graduating or you're ready to begin working, there'll be even more opportunities for you. So lastly, this shows a chart around manufacturing skills and jobs. And what's unique about this chart is that it shows not just how many people will be needed, but what level of skills they'll need to succeed in those careers. So we see that there's actually a bit higher of a current need for entry-level folks. But what's really important to look at and understand is in 5 years from now, they'll need quite a few people with 2 years and 5 years of experience. So one way you can look at this chart is not just that there'll be a job available for you today and probably a job available for you in 5 years, but also that if you start working at an entry-level position today, in 5 years, there will be 54 job openings of within your business where you may be promoted to. So as of right now, you might want to be one of those 27 folks who's looking to be hired or job postings. But if you started today, you're really hoping and planning to become one of those 54 people in 5 years who's becoming a supervisor or a manager. And that's more information that you can just kind of glean from this kind of data. So again, these are just some examples of data that our organization has collected locally, but there are plenty of employers in different industries throughout the county that are always looking for folks to apply and to work for them. One of the largest employers in our county is in the healthcare industry. And whether you're looking to work in mental health or in a rural hospital or in an emergency room, those careers are available here in Windham County. And these are the major hospitals, and they have a variety of jobs within them, ranging from nursing to medical assistance to nutrition to physical therapy. So even if you aren't interested in healthcare, you may want to be an accountant at a hospital. And so knowing about these companies, whether or not you're interested in healthcare, can be really important too. Law enforcement, public safety, and the legal system are also very often hiring in our region. The police and fire departments are always looking for new qualified candidates to bring onto their teams, and those are municipal jobs, and how you apply to those and find those may be a little different than a perhaps more traditional job, or one that isn't for a town or government. There's also a lot of community justice work, both in Brattleboro and in Bellows Falls. And of course, there's a variety of law offices all over the county and the state, as well as the Vermont State Police Academy. Manufacturing also plays a really significant role in our region's economy, but what's unique about the industry of manufacturing, especially here, is that folks are making a wide variety of different things. So among the folks listed here, GS Precision makes airplane parts, and Omega Optical makes lens filters, and Commonwealth Dairy makes yogurt, and Hermit Thrush makes beer. Full Flex makes elastics for PPE and masks right now. So you can both be interested in manufacturing and working with machines and building things and have a really strong interest in STEM careers, but you don't necessarily need to pick what you will be making or what you'd like to be making until later. So you can start investing in skill sets that would apply to all of these different places and all of these careers. But just knowing they're out there, and maybe if you're interested in yogurt or beer, you'll take an extra microbiology class, whereas if you're working or would like to work for GS Precision, you may go to the Career Center to enroll in that manufacturing training program. The trades locally are also always hiring and looking for folks to join their teams, whether it's working with a construction company doing pretty standard construction work, or working for a plumber or an electrician or a solar installer. These are all careers that are always hiring, and we really need more of these folks entering these careers. And they're all hands-on, and they all provide a really important service for our communities. One thing that you can also look into is that if you want to be an electrician or a plumber, you can work for an electrical company or a plumbing company, but you can also work for a facility or a company that needs those skill sets in-house. So if we think about Commonwealth Dairy, when their yogurt machine breaks, it isn't the person who's making the yogurt that fixes it. Commonwealth Dairy often will need their own electricians or their own mechanical engineers to fix these machines that they're working on. So you could either be an electrician with an electrical company, or you can perhaps be an electrician in a company that exists that doesn't only do electrical work. And so understanding what these careers are called, like facilities manager or an electromechanical engineering, those are different spins on a very traditional set of skills and trade work that everyone should be familiar with. And last, something that I mentioned already is the CDL driving. And these are really lucrative career pathways, and the training is not very long, and it's really close to home. So there's an excellent driver training school in Bellows Falls called Northeast Driver Training, and they can provide training for the variety of different kinds of vehicles you may be interested in driving. And the companies here locally, range from the Mover, which is public transportation, to your bus, the big yellow bus that takes students to and from school, to municipal road crews, the folks fixing our roads and plowing and grading and doing all of that really important work. And then lastly, construction and shipping companies. Any very big machine, bigger than, a traditional van or truck that someone would be driving, you often need a license to do that. And so if you have these licenses, you are more ready to be hired by these companies and access these jobs. So again, we mentioned a bunch of different kinds of careers in a bunch of different industries. And while knowing that these jobs exist, it's also important to understand, how do I get there? What steps might I need to take to actually succeed in these careers? And so these are just a variety of different pathways that certain careers require and certain ones don't. So the 2-year degrees or associate's degree or a bachelor's, a 4 years degree, those are pretty popular, and those are often required or preferred in a lot of office jobs and other quote-unquote professionalized jobs. But they may not be required, and often what you study during your degrees may or may not impact how qualified you are for a job. Some folks just want to see that you've invested in education after high school and don't really mind if you were an English major or a math major or what you focused on. Some companies, of course, would really like to see that if you're going into a specialized occupation, that you really specialize your education. Other opportunities like apprenticeships are a mixture of on-the-job training and college courses. And so you may spend most of your day on the job working and learning from someone who's been doing that job for years. And then in the evening or on a day off, you'll be taking classes to really support your education further and get you even better at that job. These are really popular in the manufacturing and the trades environments. Apprenticeships are really popular for plumbing and electricians. There's also certifications and industry recognized credentials that fall in between doing only on-the-job training and going for a full degree. And we'll talk a little bit more about examples of these in just a moment, but really they are short training or education opportunities that are very specific to what your goals are and where you'd like to work. And these last three are kind of the different ways you can find a job or get promoted or that really other folks and hiring managers are using to find their next best candidate. And so one of them is on the job. And that's what we talked just briefly about earlier, is that you can start a career, but also knowing that there's opportunity for promotion. Your next job might be in the same company. And so being promoted or hired from one job within a company to the next is something to always remember about. There's the direct employment model, which I think most are familiar with. That's where you supply a resume and cover letter to a job description you see posted on the internet. And that is, the most direct method. But there's also hiring in temp agencies. Some companies may only hire through a temp agency. And so a company may go to a temp agency and say, I need 3 folks who are good at administrative and clerical work. The job will be for 3 months, and if they succeed and they do well and they fit in, then we'll hire them full time. So if you know that the company you'd like to work for or the job you'd like to do is working with a temp agency, you should be applying to that temp agency and not to that company. And sometimes you'll need to ask a bit. You can go to an employer and say, do you do direct employment or do you work through a temp agency? And they really should be able to tell you which they prefer and how best to get your foot in the door. So just to touch base again on these credentialing and training opportunities, these are often short, they are industry specific, and this example for the CDL driving is a variety of different opportunities. So you could be either getting your initial driver's course or you could be getting a refresher. If you are driving students, you may need one set of licensing, but if you're transporting hazardous materials, you may need a different kind of license. And so these kinds of programs can really specify, and you can say, I want to work for this company, or I'm hoping to work for this company and drive this kind of truck, and they carry these products from one place to the other, and then they would be able to help say, here's the license you need, here are the endorsements you need to apply for, and let's get you through it. Another great example of credentialing and training programs are offered through CCV. And these are these flyers are outdated, but these programs do still exist. One is a medical assistant program, and that is really an entry-level opportunity for folks to enter the health careers field. And that's a really great opportunity. Again, it's not a full degree. It's not a full nursing degree, but it's a 14-week course that exposes you to the skills you may need and gets you into a working environment in a hospital as soon as possible. And so the benefit of that is if you're not too sure if you're interested in healthcare and you're not really ready to commit years of education to go into healthcare, you may try this first, and you may really just test the waters about this industry you're interested in, and this is a great training opportunity that partners with Brattleboro Memorial Hospital to do that. And similar programs exist for manufacturing. So CCV also has a training program that's partnered with GS Precision in the past and other manufacturers where you can get those basic entry-level production skills so that if you're applying and someone else who has zero experience is applying for that same job, you have that leg up and your employer knows this person's serious about manufacturing. And if they've done this much, they're probably going to be a quick learner and really dedicated to the job. So these, again, are just some examples. CCV has great bookkeeping and accounting programs, among others. And of course, VTC is our local nursing training program. And that series of courses is also excellent. So far, we've talked about that a good job needs to exist. And again, that's straightforward, but it's really important to make sure that you're planning for something that actually is available. The second part is making sure that the job that you're aiming for and that you like is also capable of meeting your economic and lifestyle needs. And so because not all jobs are good jobs or the right career for you. And so just take a moment to think to yourself, what else might you want to need besides a good wage or a good salary? And we'll talk about some of these things also. Again, so these are among the benefits that may be offered alongside a wage or salary that you should really pay attention to. And this is where a lot of your own needs are really important to understand. One good example is that I wear glasses. And so if my employer offers vision care as a part of healthcare or not, that's really important to me. Because if my glasses break, and I want to know that I'm partially covered to get a new pair, and it would be great if that was provided by my work. The paid time off is another really important thing to understand, and it is what it sounds. When you're not working, whether you're taking vacation or sick time or family leave, is that time paid? Are you being compensated for that time or not? And is it something that you would need to be compensated for or not? A lot of times, vacation's vacation, and that's fine. But if you know you need to be out of the office or take leave frequently for whatever reasons, understanding whether it's paid or unpaid is really important. There's also other things that an employer might offer, like life insurance or help with a contribution to a retirement plan that you're participating in. These are all things that you should be asking your HR manager about when you're negotiating if they've offered you a job, or if you're just interested in learning more. And lastly, something that you should always ask about or be aware of are any office perks that are really less about the monetary value, but more about the culture and the lifestyle of where you're going to want to work. My office, we have coffee, and when we weren't dealing with COVID, there was lunch provided some days. And, that wasn't something I couldn't afford on my own, but it just felt really great, and it felt valued, and I felt valued as an employee, knowing that I can grab a cup of coffee and talk with my coworkers, and that's something that, our boss doesn't want us running out to get coffee or having to run out to get food or to be stressed about these different things, when we really want, and he really wants, the office to be a welcoming and good and fun place to be. And so this could mean a bunch of different things. Some offices offer a gym membership, or that folks go on walks together, or they have a weekly meetup where everyone shares what they're most excited about from their past week or their week looking forward. And so these are little perks or benefits or cultural office things that you might just want to know about. And again, some of these things has monetary value that you can add to your salary. And so lastly, we'll talk about why it's important not just to look at the wages. And we did just talk about this, in that our goal is for you to understand throughout your journey that if there's a $15 an hour job or a $12 an hour job, both of which you are interested in, how do you choose which one to apply to, or which one you may take if you're offered that? And to understand that the $12 an hour job, that might have benefits and paid time off and paid family leave, where the $15 an hour job may offer none of those things. And so that's really where reading between the lines and really looking at the whole picture is really important to understand. They might pay me a high wage, but will this help me grow as an individual? Or will this support everything outside of work that I need? And then lastly, of course, is if I start at $12 an hour, how soon, or what's the likelihood of me eventually getting to $15 an hour, or $20 or $25 an hour? And always asking, what's the opportunity for me at your company or in this job, is really important. Because again, you might think that $15 an hour, those extra few dollars an hour, are really important to you, but maybe that $15 an hour is where you'll be for 5 years. Whereas the $12 an hour, maybe it's $12 an hour and they'll pay for you to get more education, or they'll pay for your training. And so maybe that $12 an hour becomes $20 an hour much more quickly. And these are all things that you'll need to explore and with your employer or during the hiring and recruitment process to understand more fully. Because again, what you're looking for is the best opportunity and career that is available to you. So here are the things we've talked about so far. A good job, it has to exist. If you're going to plan to enter a career, you need to know that career is waiting for you or ready for you when you apply. The second is, if everything goes as planned and you are the most qualified applicant and you get hired, can it meet your economic and lifestyle needs? Is the job sustainable? Is it something that you can go to every day and it will pay your bills, support you, and whatever your needs are? And then lastly, of course, is it going to be a job that you can wake up and be at least excited to go into some days, but at least something that you are work that you're proud to do, or that you are at least willing and able to vision yourself doing this work for many years? And the way you do that is you make sure that it aligns with your interests, passions, and skills. And so I'm going to introduce an assignment, an activity that we love for students to do, and what will really help start the planning process. And this is to take a career interest inventory. And these are tools or surveys that help you explore what careers might be of interest to you based on your passions and your skills. We know that BUHS and Leland and Gray use Naviance as a tool. Bellows Falls uses Career One Stop, and Twin Valley use Zello. So if you haven't done one of these career interest inventories on these programs before, we absolutely really encourage you to do them now. And then as importantly as doing those surveys is to also think about, what are you passionate about? What's one thing you love to do? And also, what are you good at? What's one thing that you're really good at that you think someone would love to pay you to do? So if you think about these things, and then you look at the interest inventory results, and then you do some research on what compensation looks like, and you know what your needs are, all of a sudden we can really see that dream job come into focus. And it's going to be a compromise, but the whole point of this workshop and the workshops to come is that if you know what you want, and you know what you need, and you know what you're good at, you can make all of the right decisions to get to that dream job. And so that's what's most important for this session and looking forward, is that you feel confident and prepared to take your next step, whatever that next step might be. So I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch. Again, this is just the start of our journey and planning about what might be next for you after high school. But the opportunities are out there, and it's our job and it's our role and it's our pleasure to help you meet all of those goals and to meet your aspirations and to find that opportunity that you're most excited for. You'll see our contact information in the description below the video. And if you have any questions or comments, absolutely reach out to us. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.